Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some fascinating regional and global stories. First up, Jordan and Saudi Arabia are playing a complex game of defense and diplomacy, intercepting Iranian missiles and drones, possibly with some covert cooperation, despite their public opposition to Israel's actions in Iran. It's a delicate dance of regional alliances and strategic interests. Next, we turn to Elon Musk, the tech billionaire with big political ambitions. Musk has supported Trump's campaign, floated his own third-party idea, but faces huge hurdles, like constitutional eligibility and a two-party system that's tough to crack. Plus, his recent political stances have stirred controversy, impacting his companies and public image. Is a presidential run really in the cards? Finally, we celebrate the release of Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian activist detained in the U.S. for protesting in Gaza. After 104 days, a court ruled his detention unnecessary, and he's now reunited with his family, ready to continue his activism. His case highlights ongoing debates over free speech and activism in America. Please continue to watch for more detailed insights. Deutsche Welle reports on the complex and clandestine diplomatic dance between Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Israel amid the ongoing Iran-Israel conflict. Despite publicly condemning Israel's recent attacks on Iran, both Jordan and Saudi Arabia have engaged in covert support to counter Iranian missile threats. Jordan, for instance, has actively intercepted missiles crossing its airspace, an act justified as self-defense, highlighting its delicate position of balancing regional opposition to Israel's actions while maintaining strategic alliances with the US and Israel. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia, publicly sympathetic yet privately accommodating Israeli military operations, has provided surveillance and airspace access, reflecting its nuanced effort to balance regional diplomacy with security interests, especially given its reliance on the U.S. for protection and its own internal political tensions. These actions underscore the fragile and often contradictory nature of Arab state stances, as they navigate their opposition to Iran and Israel's military endeavors without overtly alienating their populations or jeopardizing their diplomatic ties. The South China Morning Post delves into Elon Musk's turbulent foray into American politics, illustrating how his bold, often impulsive moves have complicated his business empire's stability. Musk's substantial financial backing of Trump's 2024 campaign, coupled with his public disputes with the former president, reveal his deep engagement in partisan politics, despite the risks. His recent musings about creating a new political party, dubbed the American Party, reflect his desire to reshape the U.S. political landscape, yet experts view this as an unlikely endeavor due to structural barriers, his eligibility issues, and waning public support. Musk's involvement in political controversies has also impacted Tesla's market performance and brand reputation, with protests and declining sales in key markets like Europe and China. Despite his aspirations to influence American politics, analysts see Musk's focus as more pragmatic, concentrating on his vast business interests, while his flirtation with third-party ambitions remains speculative and fraught with challenges. Yahoo US provides a compelling narrative about Mahmoud Khalil's recent release from immigration detention after a lengthy 104-day ordeal. Khalil, a Palestinian activist and Columbia University alumnus, became a symbol of the Trump administration's crackdown on campus protests against Israel's war in Gaza. Despite not being accused of any illegal activity during the protests, Khalil's participation was labeled as pro-Hamas and potentially harmful to U.S. foreign policy, leading to his detention and threats of deportation. However, a federal judge ultimately ruled that Khalil posed no flight risk or danger, ordering his release, though the government has appealed this decision. Khalil's story highlights the tension between national security policies and free speech, illustrating how activism related to Middle Eastern conflicts can lead to severe legal consequences for non-citizens, even when their actions are protected under the First Amendment. His case underscores ongoing debates about civil liberties, immigration enforcement, and the politicization of activism in the United States. BBC reports the dramatic and controversial dismantling of Voice of America, VOA, a historic U.S.-funded news outlet established during World War II to combat Nazi propaganda. Under President Trump's administration, over 85% of VOA's staff, about 1,400 employees, were abruptly laid off, including Persian-language reporters who had been temporarily on leave. The official reason cited was the agency's supposed dysfunction, bias, and waste, but critics see it as an attack on independent journalism that has long been praised for its coverage in countries with restricted press freedom. The move, led by appointee Kari Lake, aimed to fulfill Trump's broader agenda of shrinking federal agencies and reducing perceived bias in media, sparking fears that this could silence a vital source of truthful reporting and undermine U.S. global influence. The Toronto Star and The Independent highlight the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia, with Zelensky revealing that Russia has recently repatriated at least 20 of its own soldiers' bodies in exchanges with Ukraine, an act he describes as a sign of Moscow's disorganization in managing prisoner swaps and military remains. Zelensky condemned Russia's apparent callousness, noting some bodies even bore Russian passports, which Russian officials deny, insisting they are all Ukrainians. These exchanges are the only tangible outcomes from the fragile peace talks in Istanbul, where both sides agreed to exchange the bodies of fallen soldiers. Zelensky suspects Russia's true intent is to use the negotiations as a facade, aiming to appease Western sanctions without ending the war, especially as Ukraine faces new threats from Iran and Russia's military cooperation with North Korea. He emphasized Ukraine's need for advanced weapons and support from Western allies, including Patriot missile systems, to defend itself amid escalating missile and drone attacks. Zelensky also expressed concern about the broader geopolitical implications of the Iran-Israel conflict, emphasizing Iran's support for Russia through supplying drones, missiles, and technology, which has bolstered Russia's military capabilities against Ukraine. He pointed out that numerous Russian companies are involved in producing nuclear-capable missiles like the Orshnik, and criticized the lack of sanctions on some of these entities. Meanwhile, Ukraine is working to bolster its defenses by developing domestically produced interceptors and seeking international aid, including military aid from the US and Germany. As Zelensky considers attending a NATO summit, he continues to push for increased Western pressure on Russia and a renewed diplomatic effort, aiming for a decisive shift in the ongoing conflict and to secure greater global support for Ukraine's sovereignty. The Washington Post vividly captures the fiery exchange between California Senator Alex Padilla and Vice President J.D. Vance, illustrating a clash rooted in political tensions and personal insults. Padilla, standing firm amid the chaos, dismisses Vance's disrespectful misnaming as a reflection of the administration's pettiness and lack of seriousness. Vance, during his Los Angeles visit, dismissed Padilla's previous arrest incident as political theater, further fueling the outrage. California's political leaders, including Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass, vocally condemned Vance's disrespect, with Bass accusing him of racial insensitivity. Padilla responded with pointed humor on social media, emphasizing that the controversy exposes the administration's use of troops as political props, turning a petty insult into a broader critique of political theater and disrespect. The Toronto Star narrates the remarkable release of Syariy Tsikhanouski, a prominent Belarusian dissident and husband of opposition leader Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, after a rare visit from a senior U.S. envoy. Tsikhanouski's liberation, arriving in Vilnius alongside other political prisoners, follows a tense period marked by Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko's meetings with U.S. officials, including Trump's Ukraine envoy. His detention in 2020, after challenging Lukashenko in an election widely denounced as fraudulent, exemplifies Belarus's brutal crackdown on dissent. The story highlights the symbolic importance of Tsikhanouski's release amid ongoing political repression, with his wife rallying support abroad and continuing her opposition efforts from exile, underscoring the fragile state of Belarusian democracy and the subtle influence of international diplomacy. The Independent reports on Pakistan's surprising move to nominate Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, citing his role in de-escalating the India-Pakistan conflict over Kashmir. Pakistan lauds Trump's diplomatic intervention in May, which led to a ceasefire after intense hostilities, and claims his actions prevented a potential nuclear catastrophe. However, India dismisses this as a bilateral military agreement, highlighting the geopolitical complexities. The nomination has stirred debate within Pakistan, with some viewing it as strategic flattery aimed at influencing U.S. policy, especially amid recent high-level meetings, including Pakistan's army chief's lunch with Trump and discussions with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. While some see Trump's diplomacy as beneficial for regional stability, others criticize his support for Israel's Gaza operations and question whether such political gestures are motivated by ego or genuine peace efforts, reflecting the intricate and often contentious nature of international diplomacy. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.